I'd like to welcome everyone to IWI's webinar, Get More Out of Your Sage 300 Cloud Investment. Before we start, just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Just want to make sure everyone that's attending can see our screen and hear us. So somebody in the chat box can type yes, I'd appreciate that. Okay, and then as we go through this, we're going to put everybody on mute just to cut out the background noise. I'll just ask each of you to keep your questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat box, and we will answer all the questions at the end. So at this time, I'm going to pass the controls to Leanne Lowe. She's a partner sales engineer for Sage. She works with the partners and customers in the Sage 300 Cloud for over 20 years, and is currently just working out of her home in Seattle, Washington. So at this time, Leanne, feel free to take control, and it's all yours.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sean. So today we're going to go over how Sage 300 Cloud can help you get more done and gain visibility across your business. And mainly we are going to focus on new features within Sage 300 and Sage 300 Cloud that help you get that done. And so we'll be going over several things. The first of all, which is what is the difference between Sage 300 and Sage 300 Cloud? So I know that some of you may have already upgraded to the subscription version, which is the Sage 300 Cloud version. Some of you may be on what we call Perpetual, which is the Sage 300 itself. The only difference really is one is subscription with a few more features and enhancements, and the other is strictly the classic version. Sage 300 Cloud is not truly cloud in that it is not accessible completely in the cloud. It is what we call cloud connected. So that's why we call it Sage 300 Cloud. So it does connect with other applications such as Sage Inventory Advisor via the internet. Well, so we're going to go over some of the key differences between the two, and then also some of the key new features. So what have we added to help you run your business better and help save you money, help streamline your organization, make it easier to access the data that you need on a regular basis, especially if you're doing common things such as switching between companies or going in and reconciling your bank statements. So what have we done that's new? And we'll also take a look at what's new in Sage CRM. So at Sage, we've updated the integration between Sage 300 and Sage CRM. So some of the new features that we've added to the Sage 300 Cloud, we've actually added in the Sage CRM as well. So at the very end, we're going to take some questions on anything that we've presented. So feel free to save your questions to the very end as well here. So some of the key differences really between Sage 300 versus Sage 300 Cloud. It's got the same key accounting modules. It's really accessed the same way. What we've done is we've given you the ability to pay maintenance and also access it via a browser. So just giving you an alternate interface for your Sage 300. So it's not a replacement necessarily. It's what we call a parallel interface, which you don't have to choose between one or the other. You can actually use both and switch between one versus the other. So Sage 300 Cloud web screens allow you to open up a browser window, and that gives you more of what we would call flexibility on mobile devices. So the web screens, which is new, allows you to also toggle easily between one company and another. So you can have 5 different companies on one company on each tab and not have to close out of one company and open up the other. You can have multiple companies all open at the same time, just on different tabs. And then you can color code those as well. So we've made it easy to recognize the different companies and the colors, and then access things such as order entry, accounts payable, general ledger, bank reconciliation. We've added new features such as the ability to access notes within Sage 300, so you can attach a note to a customer or vendor record and view that in invoice data entry or order entry. You can also go in and we have what's called a global search, which we'll actually take a look at as well, which is available in both the web screens and the standard Sage 300. And those web screens for order entry and quote entry are made available within Sage CRM. So the standard classic order entry screen is no longer for new CRM licenses what we have integrated Sage CRM with. Now we have the web screens that you can access from within Sage CRM. So the integration has been overhauled a bit. So we've made it more modernized, easier to use, and again, more web friendly, and then, or browser friendly. And then we also added a new feature to bank services called bank feeds that allows you to connect to your Canadian bank very easily so that you can bring in your transactions directly. So we'll go over that, as well as the GL integration with tax services. We added this great new feature called multiple contacts. And this is actually a module that you can access within Sage 300. I'm going to show you where you can find it on both the classic as well as the web screen, because this is an important feature that allows you to put in more than one feature, more than one contact for your vendors, for your customers. You can set them up so that they're global, so that anywhere in your data entries, you can access these multiple contacts. So for example, you can have an order contact versus an invoice contact. So the accounting person can be different than, say, the salesperson at your customer's site. And those multiple contacts can also be viewed and synchronized with Sage CRM. So we try and make it full circle. So all of the new features that we're adding within the Sage 300, they can also be accessed within Sage CRM. So let's take a look first at some of the comparison between the two. So one of the things that I wanted to look at is what the Sage 300 Cloud gets you, give you in addition that Sage 300, the perpetual version, doesn't. And the biggest thing is going to be, you'll notice, is the modernized web screens. You also have the global search inquiries and the bank feeds. So bank feeds is really big because now you can bring in your transactions automatically. The Sage CRM web screen. So we've always had an integration with order entry with Sage 300, but now you have the web screens with the Sage 300 Cloud. Then there's some other things, for example, the Sage AP automation, Sage Inventory Advisor is free with Sage 300 Cloud. And then we have the Microsoft Office 365. And what that does is it allows you to connect your Sage 300 with your Outlook so that you can bring in customer information, actually view invoice information from within Outlook. So when you pull up a contact, you can see information that's normally viewable within Sage 300. So that Microsoft Office 365 really gives you more integration with Microsoft products. And then we also give you the ability to see multiple companies within the same browser in Sage 300. You can manage those from a browser setting. We have again, the multiple contacts modules, which we'll take a look at. So let's delve into these in a little bit more detail. So this is just kind of a feature comparison side by side. Let's take a look first at web screens and company colors. So the new web screen feature of Sage 300 is a great new feature that gives you the ability to log into Sage 300 from a browser window. So let's go in and take a look at what this is going to look like. So if everyone can see my screen here, when I go into my sample company, this is just a browser for my Sage 300. So Sage 300 can be opened up within any browser window. So you can open it up within Google Chrome, within Safari, or within Internet Explorer. and Microsoft Edge, and it's very powerful because now you can open up Sage 300 from a mobile device. So if I had an iPad, I can now open up Sage 300 from my iPad. Just keep in mind you're going to want to have security built in, so it's still you're still accessing Sage 300 on your server, and so you're going to want to be on your internal intranet site behind your firewall on your network. So even if you open up Sage 300 on your tablet, for example, a Android tablet or an Apple iOS tablet, you want to make sure that you have either VPN or SSL security. But once that's set up, you can go in and you can log into your Sage 300. And what we've done with these web screens is we've given you the ability to see all of your modules. When you click on the left-hand side, you can see your modules here. And we have some widgets that give you some top KPIs, and you can add additional web widgets as well. So if you want to see your top salespeople, you want to see your previous year expenses, you can see that, your top vendors. And if you want to go in and enter your accounts payable transactions, there's just an icon that you can go in there. And if you want to see your vendors, there's vendors here. So when you open up the web screens, it's just a more modernized view. So we programmed this in HTML5 to allow you to go in and do things such as rename the fields, move fields to different locations. So when I do a lookup, it's very similar to the lookup you've always been used to. When I pull in a vendor here, you can see information. Now the new notes features, we've added the ability to create a note for a vendor or for a customer. So when you go into that vendor, it will pop up the note. So again, this notes feature is available here on the Classic and the new web screens window. And you can also attach the notes to inventory items. So that means when you put that item on an order, you can actually view that. So let's say I created a purchase order for this item. If there's a note attached to it that said there was special pricing, or maybe there's a contract on file, or a link to a document, you can see that note pop up there. So again, this notes feature is new. One of the newest modules that we've added here is the contacts feature. So I'm going to show this to you in the web screens and also the Classic window so you can see both. And when you want to access it, you just click on this. It looks like an icon with a bunch of people here on the left-hand side. So we have the ability to set up contacts here. Oops, I'm going to go back here. Not my optional fields here. Let me go back in and then just go here. What I wanted to show you is the setup. So when you go here, you can actually set up multiple contacts that can be accessed in both the accounts payable and accounts receivable module. So in invoice entry or order entry, you can access these contacts or see these contacts. So you can actually assign the contacts to a particular vendor. So I can have, for example, 20 different contacts if I wanted for a single vendor. Maybe I have different locations, and so I will have a different contact for each location, so I can set those contacts up for any particular vendor. And these, again, can be accessed from different entry points. So when I set up a contact here and I go, let's say, to AP vendors and go to my vendor here, I have, and let's pull up that vendor that I had before, Dunkin' Donuts. If I go to my contacts, these are my contacts down below. So you can see down below I've got Susan May, Kathleen Keene, I have John Mills, I have John Smith down here. So these are my contacts. I can also add new contacts on the fly and view those contacts that I had set up before. So this is an all new feature that we've added in the 2020 version. This is a great new feature. I would recommend that people, again, take advantage of. Make sure you have this set up and add it with your security rights so that you can view multiple contacts. So the web screens Also gives you the ability to view different companies on different tabs. So if you notice, I'm logged in as Sample Company Inc. up at the top here. But if I wanted to go to another company, I simply can open up another window and then sign in to that company, and I can color code that as well. So let's sign into Company A, and I've got that color coded. So everywhere you'll see this, I color coded it, so I have this big purple banner. So every data entry screen, I'm going to see this big purple banner. So if I go to AP Vendors, I still have that banner. So if I go to another company, and let's go to Company B, I can set up a different color, so I know exactly which company I'm in, so I don't accidentally enter or do any data entry for the wrong company code, because I can see that the company is color coded and very easy to see and make a determination of which company I'm in. So I'm just going to show you the company colors kind of side by side. So I've got company ABC. I've got company B. I got company C here, company C, and then company here. And you can notice that each one of these are 4 different companies I have open at the same time. Each of these companies are color coded, so you know exactly which company that you're in when you go in without even having to look at the company name. It's color coded with a banner, and this colored banner is user defined. So you set up whatever color helps you determine and helps you to identify which company that you're in. So again, this is a newer feature of Sage 300 Cloud. This is the ability to set up company colors for your different company codes. Another new feature that we added is what we call global search. So this global search feature allows you to go in and search for anything you need in the database, and you can put in a full name or a partial name. So for example, I know I have a vendor named Chloride, so it's going to pull up all my item numbers that have this partial name in it. It's going to pull up all my vendors that have this. So global search searches across all of your modules within Sage 300 and helps you find things quickly and easily. So this is one way we help make things more visible within your company, is with global search. So the web screens here also are available within the CRM module as well. So CRM is a customer relationship module. You get a free license of that when you have Sage 300. If I go into my order entry, so I have an order entry window here. So I'm going to go into just my regular order entry. It's so sensitive here. Let's actually go into this company instead of that company. So I'm going to go into OE transactions, go to order entry. And this is what order entry looks like within the web screen. So I can do a lookup and go quickly to the latest orders or quote that I've entered and put in the order number. And then here's what the order entry window looks like. So here's my lines down at the bottom. Here's my order information up at the top here. I can still see locations. My quantities across my different warehouses are down below here. So this order entry, this is within the web screen. So I'm in my sample company Inc. Now I happen to have this company synchronized with my Sage 300. So what I want to do is show you what we've added in the Sage CRM with regards to web screens. So I'm going to switch to my CRM program here. So I'm going to go back to my desktop where I've got CRM installed. So I'm going to log into my CRM. So this is Sage CRM from a browser. What it does is it gives you the ability to log in from any browser and see information such as your opportunities. It's synchronized with Outlook. It allows you to put in your customer details. It also allows you to enter orders for Sage 300 from within this new Sage CRM. And Sage CRM can be accessed through a browser on a mobile device as well, just so you're aware. So when I want to go to an opportunities, I can pull up any opportunities. I'm going to log back in as the admin person. So I can go to an opportunities tab here and see any opportunities that I might have for this particular user. Each user, when they log in, they see their accounts, their customers, their opportunities. They can go in and view their opportunities and put in notes and track that information. There's also a quote and order feature. So if you notice up at the top there in the tab under relationships, there's quotes and orders. So you can actually enter an order here that will go directly into Sage 300. And what the order entry screen looks like is this. So when I go to my orders tab and I click on new order, I have this new web screen order entry screen from within Sage CRM. So again, this is all new for the 2020 version. So no longer do you have to pull up web deployment and the classic order entry screens. Now we incorporate the new web screens that we designed into the Sage 3 CRM. So now you can actually enter quotes, you can enter regular orders from within Sage CRM, and as soon as I click on accept, that order goes directly into Sage 300. So again, your salespeople do not have to log into Sage 300 in order to enter a quote. They can be on site with the customer. They can just simply pull up their Sage CRM, and then they can enter orders and then access their entire inventory from within. And when you do when you enter, I've got a customer here, Ronald Black, and I've got my information here. I can go in and here, let me refresh this here if I timed out. I have it set to time out if I let it sit for too long. So I'm just going to log right back into there, and I'm going to go to my opportunities. And one of the things you can do with CRM is you can also set an interactive dashboard. So you can have like a sales dashboard that shows all of your opportunities you're working on, all of your companies and contacts. But the new feature that we added allows you to go into opportunities, and when I enter, access one of the opportunities and go to the orders tab here, now you can click on this new order button. So I'm just going to click on new order, and what it does is it opens up the web screen from within Sage 300. So now when I go down to the bottom here and I click on add new line, looks like it's a little bit delayed. Let me see if everything else is like authorize, post, delete. Oh, create new, sorry. I have to do create new. Okay, well, it looks like it's a little bit slow, but one of the things that you should be able to do is go in and actually add lines to the new order. It has the same kind of features that you had before, like save, delete, as well as header information. So I just have it set so the screen is kind of big, which is why I'm kind of scrolling, but we have the same kind of post, delete, create PO, that sort of thing. You can see all those same features that you saw in the regular order entry window. So again, you can create new orders directly from here. The same as the web screen. So when you click on lookup, you can see things like your quantity on hand when you click a new line and do a lookup of your inventory. So that's the web screens in Sage CRM. I wanted to also take a look at the new, and we also took a look at the notes feature as well as the global search. Now we also have global search here on your classic entry window, and you can see it by going up to the top of your taskbar up here, and there's this global search button. So when you click on that, then you can put in your information that you're searching by, and you can search, for example, all transactions, particular modules. So if you want to narrow down your search, you can narrow it down all the way down to things like invoice entry or payment entry. So when you put in that search, you can search across your entire organization for a particular invoice or a particular vendor. So that global search is available here on your classic window as well as the web screens. And that other feature that I showed you, which is the multiple contacts module, that's also available here. And when you want to access that, you can go to Common Services and click on Multiple Contacts. And here's where you can enter in contacts. I can do a lookup for existing contacts. So it's very easy to add a new contact and then access this new contact from within, say, accounts receivable or accounts payable. So when I go into AR customers and I go to my second tab, let's put in my customer star lane, and I go to contacts, I have one contact, Mr. Ronald Black, but then I've got two additional contacts down here. And if I want to create a new contact, I click the Create New button. Now you can also see contacts for specific documents. So if I just want to see my contacts that were available for order entry, I can see which orders. I can actually see quote numbers with that contact. So it shows you information that's on file, such as open orders for any particular contact. So this allows you to filter documents for that contact. So again, this is available. When you create a contact, it's global, so it can be accessed from within accounts receivable or within accounts payable by simply bringing it into the contacts tab. And one last thing I want to mention is the contacts that you add here. Since CRM has always allowed you to have multiple contacts, when you have a contact here, these contacts here synchronize with your contacts in Sage CRM, or what we call the People tab within Sage CRM. So that is the multiple contacts, global search. We took a look at the web screens and the multiple colors. So these are all new features that we've added to help streamline your business. And the next thing I wanted to go into is the bank reconciliation and the bank feeds. So the bank feeds is a new feature that we've actually more reimagined and made and improved upon, because there's always been within bank services the ability to import a statement from your bank. I call it import OFX statements. So let's say your bank sends you a statement of all the checks that you've written out of your Sage 300. Now you were able to import that OFX. So now what we've done is we've taken away the reconcile OFX statements and we replaced it with this new reconcile e-statements. So when you click on this, now you'll have the ability to set up either bank feeds or access the bank feeds, or you can still use your OFX. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Jason Wong, who has done this great recording of bringing in a bank feed for a Canadian bank. So the bank feeds actually work with, and I wanted to, let's see, show that. It works with several different banks. So it has over 80 banks of the most commonly used banks in Canada. So what it does is it allows you to bring in the transactions. We have a service called Sage Service Fabric that allows you to bring in all the statements, which is a web link. So it just automatically downloads that information directly into your Sage 300 from your bank. So you're actually basically logging into your bank. So when I pull up a bank here, when you're setting it up for the first time, you're going to see this connect bank feeds, and this allows you to go in and do an authentication for your bank. So when you click on Connect Bank Feeds, you're going to have this Sage Bank Feed Secure Welcome. You'll put in your email address and confirm that. So again, you want to make sure that you have an email address that you want to use for the Sage Bank Feeds account. And then just put in your email address and then click on Terms and Conditions and then click on Get Started at the bottom. So that's it's very easy to get started. Let me go ahead and I'm going to show a, we're just going to take a look at a quick recording of the bank feed. So I'm going to share my screen here. And when you click on Get Started, it allows you to go in and select your bank. So it will pull up the most commonly used Canadian bank. So you may actually see your bank right here on this list. So you choose your bank from the country. It allows you to connect either to the most popular banks, or then there's or you can click on other banks. So it's going to allow you to go in and search for the bank that you currently use, and then actually set this finish setting this up. So I'm going to let Jason do just a quick demonstration of this. So let me go ahead and click on play.
Must have done before, but you would have probably saw the initial screen to allow me to put in an email address that to set up the integration initially, because when there's changes in authentication and whatnot, the service will send that email information to get reauthenticated. But for the most part, just the initial onboarding. The idea is that once you connect through that screen, you will get to a page that lists the different countries that we support the banking integration. And as Shane mentioned, there are hundreds in Canada and 10,000 in the US. So because this is in production and don't necessarily want to show you my bank account, I will show that you can connect to a search and connect to something called Sage Demo Bank. And this is allow anyone to test against a non-real account, obviously. So if I click on that and hit next, normally you would do your normal online banking. So you connect with your online credentials and log into your real bank. But because I'm using Sage Demo Bank, we can skip through most of that with a few buttons. So hit connect, and this is my demo bank. And during the onboarding, it basically gives me the option to select how far back I want to initially retrieve. So, but at the same time, just be aware that regardless of the date I pick, it may also depend on how much the banking institution offers. So I may pick 6 months, but the banking institution may only give me the last 3 months. But if they do have all 6 months, then of course that's the load of information that comes down to Sage 300. So whatever that you pick, you would then hit process and finish. As simple as that, the authentication has been connected with your real banking institution. And the idea is that when you click on this Get Transaction button, it will give you a message about, okay, because my currency is different, but that's fine. And it basically goes and retrieve all the transactions from that institution. Both obviously withdrawals and deposits, and there is logic behind the scene that attempts to check the date and amount, and if it matches with here's the document says it downloaded 201 records, and if it matches based on date and amount, and I think a few other conditions, then it will allow for an auto matching. So that's where it will save you time. But in the event that the amounts are different, or if it's a bank fee, then you have the option to select that particular row, or just pick anyone, for example. And then I can click on the bank entry. Whoops, I gotta set my date. Let me just throw anything there for now. But the idea is that I can create an entry. I wasn't sure for this, but create an entry to offset a transaction that the bank had, a fee, for example, that they charge you. That's not your system yet. So the end result of all this is that when you have hundreds and hundreds of transactions, it will help that speed up the process to auto match and also allow you to manual match the transactions, and that takes you, into a lot faster reconciliation when you close out of this screen and complete your reconciliation flow. Just a quick caveat is that for the desktop of Sage 300, you do notice that there's three buttons. One is to connect, one is to disconnect, and one is to get transaction. As part of 2020.2, the only part of that integration that is supported is the get transaction. So for 2020.2, the onboarding needs to occur within the desktop flow. But once it's been connected for the first time on that bank, you can do the get transactions from both the desktop or the web screen. As part of 2021 that we're working on, we would add that onboarding to the web screen as well, but it's just not there for the 2020.2 release. That's pretty much all I have, Shane. Happy to answer questions.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so that is the bank feeds feature for the Sage 300 bank services module. So that is, again, that is available for the Sage 300 cloud version, 2020 version and higher. So if you're not quite up to the 2020 version, this is a great reason to get upgraded. You can work with IWI Consulting to get you up to the most current version, as well as get that to help get that set up for you. So that's a built-in feature there. Another new feature, lastly, I wanted to go over is in the general ledger. So what we've added is tax entry integration with the general ledger module. So let's go into general ledger journal entry. So I'm going to go in and create a new journal and entry, and I'm going to just put JE for journal entry source code. Now, what you'll notice that we've added in the 2020 version is this new field here called entry type. So when you do a drop down here, you'll be able to select between three entry types. You have, oops, hold on a second. I think my screen has been paused. So people only see a pause screen. Sorry about that. Okay, now it's not paused. Okay. So now you'll notice that we have three entry types here that you can select from. So you have the standard, you have the sales tax, and you have purchase tax. So let's say I want to click on a sales tax. So this allows you to create a sales tax record from within the general ledger module, and it will integrate with the tax services module as well. So I can actually access a tax group that I've set up here for one of my Canadian provinces. So for example, I have a British Columbia tax, a BC tax. I can select that. When I select that and click on create tax details, it knows, for example, that I have a PST and a GST sales tax payable. So then I can go ahead and put my my debits for those amounts. So I can say I can record $20 in PST for transaction and maybe $10 for GST for transaction. When I go and post that and update that, then it can flow over to the tax services module. So then I can see that information over here on my tax report. So let's go over to tax services real quick. When I go into tax tracking and I print my tax tracking report, I can see that information from the general ledger flow over into this particular report here. So you can see that when it's updated, it would have a source code of GL. So again, any kind of taxes that I post from the general ledger get flow over into the tax services module. So not only can you access the tax, but then you can update the tax reports as well that you commonly use in Sage 300. So that is the new features that I wanted to go over in the 2020 version. Let's go ahead. Some of the new features we actually added in 2019, such as the global search and the notes feature. Let me go in here. Okay, let me go back to my screens here. So we looked at web screens, multiple contacts, Office 365. I want to mention just briefly, if I can get my screen over here. We also allow you to print T518 forms on plain paper. That's a report that's commonly used for the Canadian Revenue Service for organizations operating contract payments. That's new in the 2020 version. We also added, hold on a second, and let me go to, we also added a new customer resources YouTube channel. So now if you want to go in and see what we've added in the 2019 version, or even in back to the 2018 version, you can actually see some recordings that show that information. So we've got several for the 2018, 2019, as well as the 2020 version. So every version that we release, we typically have a couple of product updates. So for example, in 2020, we had product update 1, and then we had product update 2. And both of those product updates added very helpful new features to the product. So it's not just when we come out to with a new release. Be aware that we release product updates throughout the year, and there is an enhancement request site. So if there's something you want to see in Sage 300, you can vote on it. There's actually a button within your Sage 300 that you can access, and we always like to get feedback from the users to be able to go in and say, and again, vote on things. But you can see things such as the what's new and submit product data from your screen here. So if I click on submit product idea, this is our idea site where you can go in and give your feedback as to what kind of new features. Like if there's the ability to reprint pay stubs in Canadian payroll, that's the latest feature. And then we have like hot topics, we have planned topics. So there's a lot of product topics that you can actually vote on, and some that you can see that we've actually planned for the future releases. So again, tell us your ideas, vote on ones, and we look at those when we're adding new features to Sage 300 in the next release. So again, that's accessible from help, and then you click on submit product idea. But then we also have the what's new available from the site here. So now you can click on the site. Looks like we're updating it for maintenance, but there's also a YouTube channel, as I mentioned. So if you wanted to understand some of the basics or see some more features or get more knowledge about Sage 300, you can go to Sage University. So we put all of these anytime learning videos on the website so you can access it anytime you like. Again, navigating the classic desktop screen, setting up the web screens, all of this is all on Sage University as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and open up to any questions. And Sean?
Yes, thank you, Leanne. So now's the time. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. We do have a couple in there. So Leanne, the first one, I believe you commented on it a bit, but they're just asking how they get connected to the bank feeds for their Canadian bank and who can set it up for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that would be, so we want to get, so you can connect, actually IWI should be able to, I'd say they would be the best resource, so they can help you get connected. You want to send them your information, like your bank and your email address that you want to connect for your bank feeds account, and they can help you get that authentication and get set up for the bank feeds.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Leanne. Now, when is the next product update for Sage 300?
Okay, so the next product update for Sage 300, actually we have we have a product update, I want to say in, hold on a second. Product. And this is, and as I mentioned, we have that's a great question. We have the product update 2 was just released, and the next version is actually going to be 2021. So we're going to be, that's just around the corner. We're going to be offering that at the beginning of the year. So we usually offer around February, March timeframe for the next version level. So right now, the latest version is 2020 product update 2, which again, we've just come up with, and then we're going to have the 2021 just around the corner. So I don't believe that we're going to have a product update 3 since we've just come up with the product update 2 for the 2020 version. But if you haven't upgraded to the product update 2, I would highly recommend.
Okay, thank you.
Recommend doing that.
And I see one more question, but that's more directed to us, so I can answer that. They just wanted to know what the next topic of the IWI webinar is going to be. So tentatively, we got scheduled True Sky, which is for budgeting and forecasting, and we got it scheduled for the 17th of September at 11 o'clock. So if there's no more questions, Leanne, I'd like to thank you once again. A very informative webinar and greatly appreciated. And we'd like to thank everybody for attending. And everybody have a great day and what's left of it, and stay safe.
All right, thank you.